Here's one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slangin The Bizkit podcast. My name is Travis Ridgen. I am 6'5", 245, a former pro hockey goaltender with an 8-inch chopper. I'm built like a Zamboni. My co-host, he hails from the oil capital of the world, Fort McMurray, Alberta, standing 6'2", 200 pounds, lean and mean. I saw this guy hump a punching bag one time, and it's still not the weirdest thing I've ever seen. He has been the king of morning radio in Winnipeg since February 3rd of 2003. Dave Wheeler.
Here I am. Did you ever see that video of Mike Tyson when he was working on a heavy bag and split a hole in it?
No, I never saw that.
This is like Mike Tyson prime. They said Mike Tyson's prime, he could knock, like if he was to give a full punch, he could knock the head off a small human.
Is that the punching bag that you were humping?
The same one, yeah. Well, he put a hole in it, so I figured I might as well make use of it.
Like American Pie, warm apple pie.
Good reference, by the way. That one predates you a little bit. I'm impressed.
Which one, American Pie?
Yeah.
I came out like, what, 99, 2000? I was alive at that point in time.
Okay. All right. I'm just thinking as far as the content of that video, you probably wouldn't have seen that till you were at least 13, 14.
That's relatable now, though, at my late 20s. Is it relatable for you in your mid-40s?
Oh, listen, Tara Reid going on to do Sharknado has been one of the highlights of my cinematic life.
Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. Also, just, you know what, we try to make everybody's day. We like to do a show where we give you a couple laughs, give you a little bit of insight, kind of entertain you for the next 45 minutes. But if for some reason you're listening on this beautiful Sunday morning, you're having a bad day, I want you to remember two things. One, Danny DeVito gets laid. Right, Dave?
As far as I know. He has in the past, at least.
So Danny DeVito gets laid. And number two, that doesn't do it for you. Remember that dumpster fire team I was going to play for at the start of the year in Spain? Remember, Legrano? Well, they were up 3-2 mid-second period the other day, and they got blown out 30-4.
That wouldn't have really looked good on your elite prospects record. You know what I mean?
I checked the elite prospects before we started doing the show. There's not a goalie with a GAA under 10. That's tough. That's tough.
That's a tough look.
Well, speaking of tough, why don't we start off with the Mikko Rantanen stuff? Because I think that's kind of taking the NHL and like the whole hockey world by storm. The fact that this guy gets traded, this great hockey player, Stanley Cup champion, goes in day one with Rod the Bod and says, I'm playing for 4 teams. You're not one of them.
Okay, so just to, for those that don't know, and again, there's a lot of people that tune into the show, not just for hockey, just give the Cole's notes of Rantanen's career and what got him into this situation.
So drafted by Colorado, he's one of the top players with McKinnon and Landeskog, carried them all the way to the Stanley Cup in 2002 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They called him the Moose because have you ever seen a moose? Scrawny legs, huge upper body. This thing's like a tank. That's why they call Rantanen the Moose. Great player, great power forward, but he's coming up to be a free agent at the end of the summer, I guess the start of the summer. And the Avs said, you know what? Instead of losing him and letting him walk for nothing, let's just trade him and try to get some type of value in return. Although, yeah, they could have made a cup run, had him on the team, let him walk, but maybe win another cup. Who knows? They said, you know what? Let's just cut our losses for now, kind of like me investing in Bitcoin. Tough time the last 2 months. But let's just trade him out and see what we can get. They sent him to Carolina, which seemed at face value like a great fit. Great team, great coach, great environment, great crowd. Everything seemed like a great fit. But now it's coming out that he came in day one, brought his gear in the bag, or his bag in the room with the Colorado Avalanche bag, put it down, goes to meet coach. Nice to meet you. I'm playing for 4 teams. You're not one of them. That's
well, I mean, and who do you put that on? Do you put that on the GM for not knowing that ahead of time?
Well, I think you got to give props to the Colorado GM for pulling off that deal. Like, imagine like the guys on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, I'm buying this truck. Does it work? Yeah, it works, but it's as is. There's no refunds. No refunds will be given. And then
can I look under the hood? No.
No. It doesn't open.
Yeah, see, that's a bit of a weird one, and I mean, in this day and age of players having no trade, clauses, don't trade me to here, don't trade me to there, I can only decide to go which team I go to. Yeah, if you're the Hurricanes, you kind of feel like you got fleeced big time on that one.
I mean, on the bright side, you did get Logan Stankoven back from Dallas, which is he's a good player, a little short, a little undersized, but scored in his first game. Scored against Connor Hellebuyck, too. That's got to be a win. But, yeah, you definitely got to feel fleeced, getting taken advantage on that one. And then they trade him to Dallas with the contract extension. So Obviously, nobody was going to pick him up just for the deadline pickup if he was going to be a free agent. They wanted the sign. And it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, Dave, that Carolina wouldn't have thought, okay, we're going to trade him. Let's just kind of hope that he's going to want to sign. He's going to love the atmosphere. He's going to love the team. He's going to love the crowd. He's going to love the city. But it would have made a lot more sense if you had traded him on the condition that he signs that extension.
Yeah, you got to think that there's safety nets in place for deals like that. That one really confuses me. And the other thing, too, when you talk a big game like that, you better make sure you show up. And not to take anything away from Dallas, I think they're strong. I mean, Jets are far and away the cream of the crop in the West, and Dallas is, I think 10 points behind last check. But, I mean, they're good, but, they're going to have a tough time getting out of the first round, in my opinion.
Do you feel like it's not the Central Division's playoffs with Dallas, Colorado, the Jets being as good as they are, the Pacific's kind of slumping a little bit? Like, it's a Central Division, especially with Dallas, Colorado, and Winnipeg.
Well, that's kind of exactly what I'm saying is, I hope the Jets are going to get an opportunity to play somebody out of the Pacific, right? Somebody like one of those wild card teams and not get a Central Division team, because that's going to even the odds pretty quick.
Well, as of right now, they got Calgary in the first round. Calgary and Vancouver tied for that last playoff spot, but that's a favorable matchup. Good travel schedule. You don't want to slide back into the second and then play Dallas or Colorado in the first round, which is, I don't want to change the subject quite yet, but that's another talk that everybody's been having is it time to go back to the 1 through 8 seeding? Because you look at all the playoff matchups the last 10 plus years, it's the same teams every first round. How many times has Edmonton and Los Angeles played every single year in the first round or maybe the second round? Leafs,
I don't think that solves. Well, that doesn't solve anything, because if you go back to the '80s when we had the Smythe division and you had it was divisional play as well. The Winnipeg Jets couldn't get out of the first round because they were matched up against the Edmonton Oilers every single year. So this is the reason why you have divisions and you play your division more, is to set up these rivalries, because that's where the NHL is making their big monies, in that first round where you got 4 games every single night for the first 2 weeks of the hockey schedule. This is exactly what they want. They want these teams to face up against, oh my God, how are we going to get out of this first round? This is by design.
So you wouldn't change it up? You wouldn't go 1 through 8? You'd stick with the divisional play?
It's not that I look, if I had a choice, I don't know how I would have it look. I mean, if you're looking for variety, you're not going to get it regardless of how it shakes down. But you could go the old way of 1 through 16. Why not go through that, right? If you really want to spice it up, then you got teams from the East playing the West in the first round. No, I think this is exactly why they have division rivals throughout the season, and hopefully they face each other in the first or second round. That's why they do it.
So if you're making a prediction, let's say the Jets and the Stars matchup, that seems like that'll be the second round matchup. Who are you picking?
Well, we're not even there yet. Like I said, Dallas is going to have a hard time getting out of the first round, depending on who they play. I think the Jets, listen, with that whole President's Cup or President's Trophy that we've talked about before, that's like kryptonite hanging around your neck. There's part of me that really wants to see Ovi beat Gretzky's record. They get the President's Cup. He walks out that way, bounced in the first round. Thank you very much. Sayonara. And the Winnipeg Jets don't have that big kryptonite hanging around their neck. That ideally is what I'd like to see. I know the banner would look good years down the road saying we are the best team in the league in the regular season, but nobody cares about that. You only care about the Stanley Cup. Nobody cares about, oh, you won the league? Great. What did that get you? Oh, bounced in the first round? Sounds like it worked out well.
Well, Winnipeg's, I think, 6 points up on Dallas right now, and then Dallas is 7 points up on Colorado. So there's a little bit of space there. Going, what we got? I think we got like 15 games, 12 games left.
Yeah, well, at last count, so Winnipeg, the time recording, they should be hitting the ice here right away against, who are they playing tonight on the Friday? They're playing Dallas, in here in downtown Winnipeg. So, yeah, that could be a quick 4-point swing, all depending on how that one goes.
Who do you pick?
Oh, I'm taking the Jets at home every time.
You're taking the Jets in the first round or second round against the Stars right now?
Look, man, when I see headlines popping up in the New York Times saying why the Winnipeg Jets are a cup contender, it's hard not to believe. When places like the New York Times are starting to pay attention, yeah, I think we got a shot, man. I really do. I think they have as good of a chance as the Oilers did last year. How about
that? We'll get to the Oilers in a bit. I got 2 stats for you. And I'm going to play devil's advocate to yourself and myself here. So just anybody wondering why I'm being a little wishy-washy. So last year in the playoffs, Connor Hellebuyck was 27 out of 27 goalies as far as save percentage, goals against, and then goals saved above average. He was terrible. He was worse than Stuart Skinner, which is hard to believe. This year in the regular season, I get it's regular season. Hellebuck, number 1 in the league. Nobody has stopped more goals goals above average, above expected than him. You know who's number 27 in the league right now?
Stuart Skinner.
Jake Ottinger.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Well, and you know, it's funny. As those words come out of your mouth, I think to myself, why wouldn't Dallas have gone for Stolarz or Woll in Toronto? You know, one of those guys.
As a backup option you're talking about, or you're talking about a starter?
Absolutely. Just to have him on the bench, you know, like with Ottinger, you know, maybe he's not feeling it. You got a guy that's hungry, willing to go for it. Why wouldn't you look for a guy that's, you know, kind of on the up and up? And Toronto had the room to kind of make a goaltender available if they wanted to beef up maybe their defense, or, you know, maybe have a contingency plan in place for depending on their injuries. And they seem to be getting a little hurt up front. Hopefully they're healthy by the playoffs. But I don't know, man. Like, I just find it interesting that maybe they did make an offer somewhere. They didn't get what they liked. But the fact that both of those goaltenders are still in Toronto baffles me.
Ottinger's been so good the last 2 years, 3 years in the regular season. He's had some iffy spots. I remember getting pumped against Seattle a little bit. I think that was 2 years ago. And then last year, the Oilers, he looked really good up until the Oilers series. And then when the Oilers came to town, just kind of had their way with him. So hopefully he can tighten that up, because he's a damn good goalie, man. He's so technical, so fluid, and he's a big guy too. Moves great. I love watching Jake Ottinger. So he watches some of the clips every now and then too, which is a nice little added bonus for us. By the way, your boy Knight made a highlight save there the other night. Spencer Knight, a la Eddie the Eagle, Eddie Belfour. Yeah, man, oh man, that was vintage all the way through. Beauty glove save. I love the reaction on the Utah player's face. I love anytime there's a monster save and the player's like, oh. And the slow-mo captures the slow reaction as his face goes, oh. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than just staring him down going, yeah, I got that. I got it. You know who had another big one too was Linus Ullmark. That monster save against Boston, timed it beautifully, right time, right place, put the glove right there. The Boston guy got all of it, and he still made that stop. It's been some good saves, man. Honestly, like you said, we're bad. We're down to the almost a dozen games left in the season. Those bubble teams, they're going to start playing hard. I'm looking forward to that. Like you said, there's a big race between Calgary and Vancouver. I love seeing that. Yeah, man, it's a fun time of season right now where everyone starts playing math. Everyone starts doing the numbers. Who are we playing? Where are they at? Yeah, no. This is a fun time, man. I love this. Two things to wrap up real quick on the Rantanen and Dallas Stars thing. Do you remember before the Four Nations break when the Stars were in Winnipeg and the Jets fans were chanting at Ottinger, Hallie's back up? I do, and it also reminds me of when Toronto was chanting, we want Florida. So, again, it's careful what you wish for. That's very true. One last thing about the Mikko Rantanen thing. So when he went from Colorado to Carolina, he wanted his number 96. Jack Roslovic, former, I believe, Red Wing, former Winnipeg Jet, former University of Michigan boy, he had 96. So he says, listen, here's a Rolex. Give me the number. Deal. Takes the Rolex. Mikko gets his number. Now, Mikko bounces. I think this guy played more games for Team Finland at the Four Nations Cup than he did for Carolina. If you're Jack Roslovic, do you sell the Rolex? Do you sit on it? Do you just try to move it as quick as possible? $5,000 OBO? What do you do if you're him, Dave? Well, I don't think it was a $5,000 Rolex. If he's going to be buying him a Rolex for a number, I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. I'm not saying it was $5,000. I'm just saying, like, if you got it, he wants to like just move it as quickly as humanly possible so that nobody knows you sold it. Look, it brings me back, and I've mentioned this movie before. It's a Wesley Snipes movie where he plays a baseball player who gets traded. The movie's called The Fan. It's a wonderful film. When he gets there, he goes up to one of the sluggers. He's like, "Yo, man, I'm in a bit of a slump. I need my number back." And he's like, "No, sorry, I have it tattooed on me." I think he had it actually branded on his shoulder, if I remember correctly. It's all starting to come back to me now. And Wesley Snipes was at the point where he was wearing his old jersey with his proper number. I think it was number 24, or maybe 42, one of the two. And he would wear his old jersey underneath his new jersey just so he had that number on his back. And wonderful. If you haven't watched it, it's called The Fan, and it's a really good sports movie. Man, some athletes are weird, huh? Dude, I've got 28 tattooed on my shoulder. I've showed it to you on the show before. Years ago, I showed it to you. And you're doing a show of the goalie as well, so... Well, this proves that we're living in the Matrix, right? I got one last thing on the Rantanen thing. So I was able to uncover this. So this is breaking news. You won't see this in the fake mainstream news. So Dallas offered him $12 million. They signed the deal. The Leafs were the next closest. They offered $13 million in extension and 2 first-round picks You know how that went last time they started trading first-round picks. Mikko was going to accept the deal, but then he found out $6 million was going to go straight to the Ukraine and taxes and men's bathrooms having tampons in them, so he said no thank you. The Oilers offered $12 million. He said that sounds great, no provincial sales tax, but then he found out $5 million was going to equalization payments, going straight to Quebec, so he said, you know what, I'm going to Dallas.
Putting a lot of ink on paper that doesn't exist there, but I feel you. Look, when it comes, if you're going to start breaking it down on the tax situation, we've talked about it on the show before, and we've got more coming on it in our summer interview series, which will be very interesting, digging into everything from relationships to finances. But Texas is a tax-free state, man. Dudes, if they have the option, yep, sign me up for Texas, baby. Let's go. It's almost as good as playing in Dubai.
And hey, if everything's bigger in Texas, you know what you need, Dave?
You need Sheath Underwear.
You need a great pair of underwear to keep that big old hog. Get it separated, compartmentalized, away from the side of your leg. Enter Sheath Underwear, the presenting sponsor for today's show. Sheath is American-made, backed, founded by a member of the U.S. military, and Sheath has their dual pouch technology, this separated, segregated compartment where everything goes where it needs to go, so nothing is touching. It'll keep you fresher, more comfortable for longer. Sheath is the best. They also have their bamboo mesh, their new and improved 2.0 bamboo mesh. It's cool, it's comfortable, it's a level of comfort that you've never experienced before in a pair of underwear. So if for some godforsaken reason you're using your dad's old, ripped, holy underwear that doesn't stretch out anymore, you pull it out, it doesn't go back, get a pair of Sheath, make the greatest investment you'll ever make with the best underwear in the game. You go to link in the video description, code BISKIT69, that is BIZKIT 69. We'll get you 20% off the best underwear money can buy, only from the team at Sheath.
Can I tell you a quick anecdote about Sheath? So my son has now officially moved into a men's small, which is on Sheath's website, Men's Small. And so now my son and I are both going to be wearing Sheath, and when those end up in the wash, I guarantee you it's going to end up in the wrong drawer one day, and it's going to be awkward on either side.
What do? Do you blame your wife for doing the laundry wrong and putting them in the wrong compartment?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Somebody will be sheepish when returning said underwear to the other room.
There will be hell to pay, and nobody will be talking at dinner.
Speaking of which,
let's go on.
Go. Hang on. Going from ranting in, I want to go from ranting into the rat.
Oh, you want to do the rat first? Okay, let's do that then.
Well, I might as well stick on it, right? Listen, we are talking about tax-free in Texas. It's tax-free in Florida, too. And boy, oh boy, Brad Marchand moving down the eastern seaboard. He didn't seem like there's more to this story. And I know they've said a lot about it, but there's more to this story. Like, this is another indication to me that legacy doesn't really matter. Teams talk about, legacy. You could be a legacy player with our franchise, and your name will hang in the rafters. Your number will be retired, and it still will happen for Brad Marchand. I guarantee you, he will retire a Boston Bruin, regardless of how long his tenure is in Florida. He will retire a Boston Bruin. They'll have the jersey going up to the rafters, but I don't know, man. Like that one just seemed weird. Like it seemed like there was not necessarily a financial dropout in that negotiation, but more of an emotional one.
Well, apparently they offered him $3 million a year for 2 years, and you can't go offering your captain of the Bruins, the guy that's been there the longest out of anybody, only $3 million. You got to bump him up to at least 4, maybe 5. I think he was asking for 6. He said, "Meet me in the middle at 4.5." They said, "We're just going to trade you for a second-round pick of all things." I agree with you. That does seem a little bit fishy.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something more at play there. I really do, because at the same in getting to know Brad Marchand the way we did during the Four Nations face-off, where we had behind-the-scenes access to him, and he seemed, at least on camera, like a very lovable guy. He was saying hello to everybody, the security staff, and they seemed very jovial, good with teammates, good with the media. I don't know if that was just a facade, but it seemed to me that he was a player's player. And if that's the case, and listen, everyone knows Brad Marchand is the type of guy you want on your team. You don't want to be playing against him because he's a rat. And he's had that label since he started in the league, and he's fine with that. He accepts it. So here's the deal. If he is a team captain and he realizes, hey, I want to be a legacy guy, he would be willing to play for $3 million, maybe even 2, maybe even league minimum for a guy his age who has already got a couple of mugs and wants to continue to lead that team and be part of that legacy. So I don't think it was a situation where, like, you got to pay me more. I think there was some sort of emotional fallout in that relationship because there's no way that the Bruins wouldn't have sweetened the pot a little bit with something else. I mean, nobody thought Marchand was going anywhere. Like, he was one of the biggest surprises to me going to Florida. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And, I mean, let's talk about the fact that the Florida Panthers have now become the Broad Street Bullies 2.0 in this modern era. I mean, that's they're certainly not going to be out-toughed on the ice in the first round of the playoffs. I can guarantee you that.
That is an absolute nail-gun team. I mean, you got Tkachuk, Bennett, Marchand, assuming they all get healthy for the playoffs. What a line that'll be. I'll be excited to watch that playoff hockey, especially the Rat going back to Toronto, where he's absolutely had his way with the Leafs, with that basically having the only first-round experience of shaking hands at the end of it. And then you got the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers coming in with Marchand, Tkachuk, and just, oh, man, that's going to be an exciting team to watch come playoff time.
Yeah, man. And listen, I got to send a shout-out because I thought it was cute when when Friedman was reading out that Marchand had gone to the Florida Panthers. Biz just basically collapsed on his table, and everyone knew what he was thinking. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. How does Florida get stronger in that department? Like, they were already pretty much the toughest team on the ice, and they just got tougher with Marchand. And when I say tough, I don't mean dropping the mitts, but just being that thorn in your side. If they decide to split up those three guys and put them on three different lines, you've got a thorn in your side every time you go into the corner. Like, that's just constant agitation for 60 straight minutes.
Is Florida your cup favorite then?
Out of the East?
Yeah.
Is Bob your question? Bob's kind of my question mark. I don't know if Bob can go back-to-back years. I mean, we saw the videos of him last year dropping all that weight. He's a year older. I mean, he's not a kid, man. He's not a kid anymore. He is my, and I know everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but he's my question mark. He really, really is for the Panthers.
At 37 years old?
Yep.
So you don't think he's going to do it, or you're just a little bit skeptical at this point in time?
Skeptical. That's my only question mark around the Panthers making another run to the Cup.
Well, he put up a 9.06 last year in the playoffs with the whole run. He did a 9.15 in the previous year's Cup run, despite dropping the ball a little bit in the first round against Boston, and then picking it up and then winning all the way in Game 7. And then last year, I think there was 2 or 3 games against the Oilers really dropped the stats down, but he's been great last 2 years. They did 35, 36. Can you do it at 37? I'm optimistic. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, and especially, too, I think the matchup that nobody's talking about, potentially first-round Leafs and Panthers, Stolarz in Toronto starting against his former team in Florida. The master versus the teacher and the young grasshopper versus the expert. That's an exciting matchup for me, goalie-wise especially.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at statistical trends, more often than not, the team that loses in the Stanley Cup Finals usually have a miserable time the following year. It's just like we put in all that effort for nothing. We got to go through it again. Like, there's just an emotional hangover. But the Oilers seem to have that youth in them where they don't feel hangovers. And I get that. I used to be a young man. But when it comes to the Florida Panthers, I feel like despite their success, and they have been playing great, it's a lot of mental wear and tear. And I think the only thing that's kind of dragging them along is the fact that we know what that tastes like. We want to get there again. And I think that's really kind of been their inspiration this season. Nobody's talking about the Washington Capitals. This is a non-playoff team last year, and nobody's kind of really putting them as their pick out of the East, man. And I think that's strange. I think that team is more. They're motivated by Ovechkin going after the record, which I think at this point it's a foregone conclusion. All they need is a 1-point lead in 10 more games, and he's going to get the record. The question is, will he get to 900? But I think once that's done, you're going to see an emotional crash from that entire team. I think they get bounced in the first round.
You have a prediction for when he's going to break the record? Because as of recording right now, he's 9 back with, I think, 15 games left.
I don't think it's a question of if he'll get Gretzky's record. I think 900 now, to me, is the goal. If he gets to 9, he'll do it on the last game. And, man, what a celebration that'll be. Last game of the season. I guarantee you, whoever they're playing against, I don't know who their last game is against.
Pittsburgh.
But,
it's against Pittsburgh, the last game of the season.
There you go. Well, whoever they start net will probably be closing their eyes for half the period. Whenever Ovi comes over the line, just close the eyes and tighten up. Just close the eyes and tighten up. It's a weird way to get into the record books, but
I don't know. We had Bill Ranford on the podcast for a summer interview series, and he was talking about being a net for Gretzky breaking the record, and that's all he wanted to do was just stop Gretzky. And then when Timu was trying to break the record, he had already been in the record books for Wayne. I'm not going to be in the record books for Timu. So depending obviously on the goalie you get, I don't know if they're going to be closing their eyes trying to give Ovi the record. I think they're going to be, I don't want to be the guy on every highlight film for the next eternity being giving up Ovi's record.
I don't know, man. I don't know. 30 years down the road, that's a pretty cool memory. I know at the time you don't think about it, but again, I think it's going to happen. 900 to me is the question mark. Will he get to 900?
I mean, who knows? I mean, David Ayres went from playing, 40 minutes against the Carolina or for the Hurricanes against the Leafs to selling mattresses with Sleep Country Canada. So maybe if you give up Ovi's record-breaking goal, you can turn it into some type of brand deal. Who knows?
Ovi can go back to doing those. Yeah, go ahead.
You didn't answer my question, though. What game do you think he's going to break the record this season? Do you have a team in mind? Because Winnipeg's coming up in, I think, 6 games. I don't think he's getting 9 goals in 6 games.
I hope he does the Gretzky record break at home. Again, I don't know their schedule, but I hope he breaks the record in Washington. That would be really special. Either there or, I mean, I don't know the schedule, but if he could do it in L.A., New York, St. Louis, Edmonton, one of the teams that Gretzky played for, that'd be kind of cool. But no, I think him doing it at home would be really special.
Well, the LA game's done. They don't play the Rangers. They don't play the Oilers, obviously. I think they have 3 home games, 2 against Carolina, 1 against Columbus. The rest are away. But the last away game is against Pittsburgh on April 17th, last game of the season. And what a
that
fashion
would be kind of cool because Crosby's chasing a Gretzky record as well for, I think it's not points per game. Is it points per game or assists per game? He's chasing some sort of record that's completely being overshadowed. The fact that I didn't even know, but I know he's chasing one. But the fact that it's being overshadowed could be pretty cool that his last handshake is with Sid. I mean, the fact that they came in the league at the same time and the rivalry, yeah, man, I think that would be really poetic.
I don't know if they're going to necessarily have an emotional crash when they get the 900th goal or whenever he breaks the record, but if they had a couple nitro cold brews from Sheepdog Brew Co, that might help keep him going.
I'm telling you, if I've played in arenas and sorry, not arenas. I've played hockey games with guys that would pop ephedrine, guys that would eat candy bars, guys that would drink coffee. These are the ones to go with, man. Truthfully, I don't know why guys aren't having more of these in the locker room. These cold brews are absolutely fantastic from Sheepdog Brew Co, and they're available in your local Sobeys, Safeway if you're in Western Canada. So yeah, go check these out. They're fantastic. I've actually
soon to be Sobeys and Safeway. Soon to be, not yet.
Soon enough. Just go and ask for it already. Yeah, these things are great.
So they'll be coming out soon to Safeway and Sobeys, but for the time being, they're available at Red River Co-op. They're also available in your local Vita Health store. They're, again, a Manitoba-made nitro cold brew, and if you're in Canada, you want to pick one up, there's a link in the video description at Sheepdog Brew Co, and you can pick them up there, whether you're looking for something a little bit darker, something a little bit lighter, more traditional. They got it all. Again, shout out to Sheepdog Brew Co, a Manitoba-made company making some kick-ass nitro cold brew. Support local, support Canadian. And
look, speaking of players that take things before games, whether it be a coffee or a chocolate bar or ephedrine, all the things that I mentioned afterwards, if you're Aaron Ekblad and you're taking something, you're like, this isn't coffee. What is this? Oh, well, find out later. I don't know, man. Anytime I hear somebody, a professional athlete, getting caught with a PED, I find it frustrating because even with his statement that he made through the Florida Panthers, I was going through recovery and I took something that I wasn't sure of and I should have checked with the medical staff. Why are you even taking anything without, listen, if you put a yogurt in your mouth that's past the expiry date, you should probably check with the training staff. At this point, it affects your team and he's done for the rest of the regular season. He's going to miss the first 2 games of the playoffs if my math isn't right.
Well, to be fair, though, if you're him, just to play devil's avocado for a second, what else are you going to say? Yeah, I took some roids. I forgot to tell everybody about it. No, I took something by accident. We're going to appeal it. I follow the rules. Your typical politician answer. They're not going to rat themselves out.
Yeah, but why do you think you're not going to get busted? Why do you think you're not? Do you just hope, I hope and pray I don't get a random drug. Hopefully there's no Post-it note hanging in my locker. I mean, I heard an adage once upon a time by somebody who said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And I don't believe that. I believe you can play inside of the parameters of the game and, do other things. There's lots of things that are legal. I mean, wasn't Roger Clemens taking, moose antler at some point? You know, like there are things that are kind of off market, but if you're not sure about it, they're like, hey man, this is totally cool. It's off market. It's in the side of my jacket. Don't check with your team trainer. Probably check with your team trainer. You know what I mean? Like there's go to your team trainer and say, listen, I feel like I'm lacking in this part. I need recovery. What can I do to speed that up? They have things that is not going to get you in trouble because if they do, you can turn around and say, this was given to me by the team trainers. This was given to me by the team physicians. This is not on me, but this is 100% on him. 100% on Ekblad.
Should take a page out of Derek Jeter's book. I remember when he crushed Mariah Carey back in the day, he stole a pair of her panties and he was wearing those for games. You don't need roids, dude. Just wear Mariah Carey's G-string around for games.
Wow, it worked okay for Eminem too.
It's not bad at all, huh? Man, also, could we just appreciate for a second? I know Ekblad's a little bit different than Derek Jeter, but the fact that this guy is like all-star, like 9 list, like we're talking Jessica Alba, Jessica Simpson, Mariah Carey, and no matter how successful he was, he got him a cab home. He sent him home. He sent them flowers. He sent them a bouquet. He sent them a signed bat and a signed jersey of himself. Like this guy was the G of all Gs. Like this guy was the man, Derek Jeter.
And he's still single, is he not?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I'd be curious if he... So when I was in Ottawa recently, remember Wilfrid Laurier, one of Canada's first prime ministers?
Yeah, he's on the $5 bill. How could I forget?
Correct. So he had his wife, Zoe, who was, not exactly good looking by any means, but, she was the wife. And then he had the mistress. So I wonder if he's got like a little stable lockdown chick, and then he's got his little like bullpen that he's playing with. South
Park addressed it well. For those that know, they know. But I'll never forget a clip that I saw of Prince. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a clip. It was a quote in a magazine where Princess Diana had basically found out that Prince Charles, now King Charles, had Camilla Parker Bowles as kind of a side dish, and she called him out on it. And he looked at her and said, "Madam, if you believe that I am going to be the Prince of Wales and not have a mistress, you've got another thing coming." And so, I mean, the positions of power always, I wouldn't say allow for it, but it kind of allows for that to a certain extent. And, the rich and powerful play by their own rules.
One last thing before we get to the voicemails. And by the way, just a little heads up for Dave and for everybody listening. I think we might have to start declining voicemails because we got so many voicemails this week. Either we'll start declining them or just banking some for like an all voicemail episode in the future because we love your voicemails and they're fantastic. But I got some stats for you. Now, Dave called it. He said the Oilers need to make a move at the deadline. They need a defenseman. They need a little bit of grit. Now, Dave said they need a little bit of grit, not that they need a little bit of gritty. And they got Jacob Wallman, who does the gritty. So I thought that was interesting. But also, did you see that hit that he had on Rantanen? He leveled him, sent him all the way back to Calgary.
If it's a dirty hit, 100% you got to answer the bell. You 100%, if it's a dirty hit, you got to fight. Whether it be right after that hit or the next shift. You got to fight. But clean hits, like I'm talking shoulder down, right and square in the chest, shoulder to shoulder, whatever it may be, if it's inside the parameters of the rules, there should not be a fight afterwards. And that's what's taken away some of those big hits. And the NHL can scream about player safety all they want. They have to put back more than just an instigator rule when it comes to a player who makes a legal hit and then all of a sudden has to fight after. Whoever engages in that fight, I think it's a one and done. Like, you're gone. Sorry. Legal hits should not be penalized by the players. Dirty hits, 100%. If it's a legal hit, talk to the guy that fed you the suicide pass coming up the middle. That's the guy that should be on the hook for that.
When he gets back to the bench, you might want to keep your head up on that next one, eh?
Right? Or in the dressing room or wherever it may be. That should not be if there's a guy looking behind him for a pass and that dumb defenseman decides to feed him that pass up the middle and I've got a step, I'm taking that every single time. And that should not be on me. Because guess what? I'm paid to do those. And I'm talking about the defensemen in the league or the forwards or whoever it may be. That's what I'm paid for, to look for those opportunities. I shouldn't have to fight every single time I do my job.
Didn't you get kicked out of a hotel after a game for doing something like that, or no?
I got kicked out of hotels for doing a lot of things, but I don't know about making a hit. We got escorted out of a few arenas, for things.
But didn't you get a lifetime ban from a hotel on the road when you were playing junior hockey? Didn't you tell me that one time?
Well, in Lloydminster, we basically got told that we weren't allowed back after an altercation with the fans. I'll leave most of the details. We did get kicked out.
Oh, come on! I want to hear this.
We got kicked out of so we were coming off, and when you're playing hockey in some of these small towns, small cities in Alberta, you have to pass by the fans. You have to walk beside them or behind them, and some choice words were said, and our goaltender, I'll call him out by name, Quentin Leroux, he wasn't having any of it, and so he decided to put his breadboard and stick up into the stands and started poking a little bit. Next thing you know, a few people came down. Look, this story has been going around hockey for a long time. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time. We got kicked out of hotels for going down water slides naked. I mean, listen, which story do you want? I'll take your pick.
I kind of want the naked water slide first.
Well, that one actually ended up with one of our forwards, number 7, Sean Edwards, face down in the pool, and we thought he was joking. We had to pull him out because he got a knee in the back of the head when we all went down, one after another down the water.
The Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah, exactly. And so he ended up getting dragged out. Pretty sure that was on the same weekend. No, that was a different weekend. Another weekend, he ended up getting from the same goaltender, ended up getting a stick in the shoulder and dislocating it. Man, it was chaotic. You're going into a recess of my brain that's bringing up a lot of things, and they're getting mumble-jumbled right now. We got kicked out of a lot of hotels. We got kicked out of a lot of games. I'm not saying it was quite the Charleston Chiefs, but a lot of the stories that you can certainly draw parallels.
Man, that's a road trip if you ask me. That sounds great. You guys going on the water slide like Penguins of Madagascar, knee to the back of the head. Think he's playing around. He's dead in the pool. We grab him out, resuscitate him, kicked out of the hotel, back on the road to Lloydminster, clean him out 4-1 and go home on Sunday. That's a road trip right there.
Man, we had a few of those. And some of them may or may not have been very inspirational for penning a lot of these stories one day.
You know what I always love on the road? I love seeing a teammate close it out. I love seeing him close the deal. There's nothing better than that.
Well, it depends if... Okay.
Well, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I've told a story about how, like, in Motor City, the GM came and said, okay, guys, enough ladies to the team hotel after games. That's enough. So they ended up moving to the parking lot. You go at 3 in the morning, there's like 4 cars with their headlights on, and if the trailer's rocking, don't come knocking. But whether you're at home or on the road, especially on the road, and you're road roommate, and he goes out and closes and comes back, you give him a nux. There's nothing better than that. I remember even one time, actually, in Mississippi, I won't say who, but there's this one guy. He goes out, he closes the deal. We're having team breakfast the next morning. We're going to IHOP. He brings her to IHOP, and he sits her down right at the table. We're like, who's this? Oh, this is so-and-so. Met her last night. It was straight to like old school. I met her at a funeral.
I'm gonna close off the the water slide story and to kind of change subject. The only reason why we got kicked out of the hotel is because the water slide, there was a giant panoramic window of the pool and the water slide that shared a window with the restaurant on the other side of the hotel. So that was the main reason, is people didn't want seeing, they didn't like seeing everything sunny side up aside from their eggs.
We need to do more stories like this. I think people need to call the voicemail and ask Dave. Actually, how many of your former teammates do you think listen to the show?
Well, I shouted out my buddy Jeff Nuttall there a couple of weeks ago. Him and his boy, he was playing out in the VIJHL.
If you've ever played with Dave, if you showered with him, if you worked with him, please call the voicemail. There's a voicemail line in the description. You call anytime, anywhere. You got you have 90 seconds. Anything you want to say? Tell us some stories. I'd love to listen to them live on the show.
There's that one guy that called in from Fort Saskatchewan when I played with the Rangers, and again, I still feel bad. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out who it was, but yeah, man, like I said, you're going into the recesses 25 years plus down the memory road. So yeah, please, refresh my memory. Please call in. I'd love to access these parts of my brain.
Wait, you coach junior hockey too? Sorry to go back for a sec, but you coach junior hockey for the St. Boniface Seals, right?
Yeah, so I actually was an associate coach with the Lloydminster Blazers before they became the Bobcats. I was with the St. Boniface Riels. I was also with the Transcona Railer Express. So yeah, I've done my tour of coaching junior hockey.
You guys take a lot of bus trips or no?
Yeah, there was a handful, especially in Lloyd. We took a lot of bus rides with St. Boniface. We did as well. Railer Express was MMJ, so that was more city stuff. So you drive to all of those. Was
that in the time when you could smoke on the bus still? Because I could picture you smoking on the bus when you're allowed to.
No, you couldn't even smoke in the... Well, maybe...
Imagine you're a rookie. You just start playing for the St. Boniface Riels. You're right behind Dave Wheeler, and he's just crushing a pack of darts in the bus. You got 5 hours of the road trip ahead of you.
Well, actually, funny enough, thanks for bringing that up. I'm now 3 weeks out from not a single cigarette. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Congratulations.
But I think they outlawed smoking on buses somewhere in the late 90s, if memory serves me correctly. So no, that would have been done. And I wasn't smoking back then. I've only been smoking for about 5 years, and now I'm done with it. It was just a phase. It was a phase. Mom, Dad, it's just a phase. It's fine.
And then she finds God. Now she wants to settle down and have a family.
Actually, my wife was the catalyst for the one for quitting smoking. So thank you, dear.
Stuart Skinner. Okay, so we talked about them needing a goaltender. Remember this? We've only documented this every single episode for the past year and a half. Does this sound familiar, Dave?
Yeah.
So I got some stats. If this doesn't scare the shit out of you, and I'm surprised Stan Bowman doesn't have access to these because I was able to do a quick Google search and find them. If you're worried about the Oilers goaltending come playoff time, since January 16th, at the time of recording, this is the last 2 months. I get it, there's 3 less days in February, but for 2 months, Stuart Skinner has only had a 900% save percentage or more 4 times. Those games were against Detroit, Buffalo, St. Louis, and Montreal. Are you concerned yet? And a lot of those save percentages hover in the 850 to 870, which was worse than my numbers in the Fed. This is an NHL guy getting $2.5 million a year.
Dude, look who you're asking. I've been saying that for the past year and a half. I don't think I need to show my receipts on this one.
You know, as bad as the stats are, you know what pisses me off more than anything about Skinner? Again, he's making more money than we are combined. He's playing in the NHL. He's accomplished more than I have. I respect that. What pisses me off the most, and if you watch the highlights, especially on that second goal against the Devils the other night, the puck goes in. It's a dog shit goal that he gave up. And he's giving his D-man the old palms up. Wasn't my fault. I hate that. There's nothing worse than showing up your defenseman doing that. And your body language is a subconscious reflection of what's really going on upstairs. You can fake it to the media. Oh, we're just trying to get better. And, we're trying to get pucks in deep, 2 more, and, we'll be ready for playoff time. Dude, when you go palms up to your D-men, that tells me everything I need to know. The Oilers made a big mistake, and they are again going to be cupless because they did not fix the goaltending. They needed to fix. The only problem they had to fix. And they did not fix it.
Let me go to defense for Stuart Skinner here for a second. I don't think he understands what his assignment is. Every time he lets in a goal, he shouldn't throw his arms in the air. I agree with you. But he needs to understand what his assignment is, which is, okay, I let one in. That means the other guys on the other end of the ice need to go down and score more. I'm doing my best back here. We don't have a lot of defense. That's been made very clear. We are an offensive team. I'm doing my best back here. Literally, he has to take that and go, shake it off. I don't care about my goals against average. I don't care about my save percentage. I care about wins and losses. That has to be his focus, period. If he has to go back to the bench every single time he gets scored on and goes, sorry about that one, guys. Let's go get another one. I'll make an assist if I can. I don't think he understands what his job is. It's not necessarily to stop all the pucks. It's just stop as many as you can. And most goaltenders don't have that luxury.
Well, if you're the D-man and I'm your goalie and the puck goes in, you and I both know that's a little bit of a softie, a little squeaker, should have had it. And I'm giving you the palms up. How are you going to feel? How do you think the rest of the bench is going to see, or they're going to feel when they see me doing that to you? I'm showing you up, right?
Well, when he lets in a squeaker that he should have had, that's him going, oh, I should have had that one. But when it's a situation where it's a 3-on-1, where they've had a few of those this year, and he lets one in, that's the ones where when he throws his arms in the air going, where was the help? There's a big difference between letting in a squeaker going, oh, I should have had that one too. Where was my defense? It's the where was my defense ones that I don't like, because guess what? You don't have any, so deal with it.
You just got to shake it off. Like you said, you literally, puck's in the net. The second you hear the horn, get up. Don't look at your defenseman and be like, hey, it was your fault. Don't put your palms up. Hey, I need some help back here. We get it. The puck went in. You can't fix it. Take some accountability and say, I should have found a sight line. I should have sealed up a little bit faster. No holes. Get a drink of water and go back for the next goal. It's a reflection of what's really going on in his mindset and the lack of personal accountability that he has, that he needs to make that save. Because at the end of the day, it's tough. Goaltending sucks, dude. It's the hardest position in sports because every mistake is on the scoreboard. But you have to find a way to make those saves. And especially when you're the Edmonton Oilers and you need a save, you need to make that save, dude.
Well, I mean, look, you can draw parallels to kickers in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, hey, your job is to kick the ball. You're not getting hit. You don't have to do all the X's and O's. You see the ball, you kick it, you put it in. You can draw parallels to the goaltender. Look, you don't have to skate lines. You don't have to remember plays. You just have to get in the way of the puck. That's it. So I understand where you're either the GOAT or you're the hero. I get it. I understand. But That's a real human emotion. And I think Stuart Skinner may even be questioning his own skill set at that point, going, God, I'm terrible. Like, what am I even doing here? I got a great mustache and that's about it.
What an asshole I would be if that was actually what he was doing. Is like, God, I suck. Like, what if that was listen, I apologize.
Ridgen has a better save percentage than the FP than me. What am I doing here?
Travis Ridgen played in a team where they had 3 convicted inmates. They brought him out of the federal prison and played in the team, and he put up a better save percentage than me, making $2.5 million, getting 3 bananas a year. Like, what a league to play in. If that's the case, I apologize.
Well, look, listen, he's going to be able to buy a few more vacation properties than you will. How about that?
That's very true. That's something I'm going to have to live with. But I do have 2 quick stats for you. One, if the Oilers don't get their shit together, because they're currently on, I think, a 5-game losing skid, and the Canucks and or the Flames pick up their stuff, the Oilers could be out of the playoffs. They're only 4 or 5 points back. The Canucks and the Flames are tied. They're 4 or 5 points back of the Oilers at this time of recording. So the Oilers could miss. That
goes back to that hangover I was talking about too, right? I mean, they're kind of jockeying with that right now. They're not in the basement, but they're not the San Jose Sharks, but they're not that dominant team in the West that we saw last year leading into the postseason.
I swear, dude, the Oilers love Stuart Skinner more than the Canadians love high taxes and just bringing in third world immigrants unchecked off the boat in our country. It's just blind faith for both of them.
Man, you said before the show we weren't going to do politics. Stick to hockey. Stick to hockey.
Can I make one comment real quick just for those that didn't know? I thought this was really interesting. Politics aside, our new Prime Minister here in Canada, our new Mr. Mark Carney, he played NCAA Division I hockey for the University of Harvard. And guess what position he played, Dave?
Yeah, he was a goalie.
He was a goalie. He wasn't southpaw, but he was regular-handed. He was a goaltender. I got a little picture here. I'll put up on the video version of the show you can see. I don't know if I like the glove hand position. It's a little bit too low for me personally. Looks a little bit stiff in the hips. I get it. That was back in a different era where there was no reverse integrations and backside pushes. But Mark Carney was a goalie, and then Pierre Pollievre. He played a little bit of community club hockey in Calgary growing up. So the goalie versus the player in the next upcoming election. Who will shoot? Who will score? Or will there be a save? How was that? Was that Ron McLean-esque?
Very, very nice, actually. Well, it reminded me of a game that happened earlier this season between the city of Winnipeg politicians, their councillors and their mayor, against the provincial members of Legislative Assembly and the Premier, Wab Kinew, and they went head-to-head. And, that was... I didn't see the game, but from all accounts, I heard it was somewhat entertaining. So it was kind of like one of those policemen versus firemen. You know, it's a charity game. They did it for fun. But yeah, you could tell the guys on the ice, from what I heard from people that were there, you could tell the guys that played a little high-level hockey and guys that were playing, club hockey. So yeah, it was cool. I like that idea. Why not? Just for fun. I don't think either of them would do it, but yeah. Go ahead. Strap on the skates and the stick and do a little bit of a shootout. Let's decide who's going to be the next prime minister by doing that.
Man, can you imagine? Let's do the French-English language debate, and then let's get on the ice. Mark, put on the pads. Pierre, get your skates on, and let's go for a 5-round shootout for the next prime minister of Canada.
There wouldn't be anything more Canadian than that. I can tell you that right now.
Listen, I'll put it out there. Politics aside, Mark Carney, I would love to get on the ice with you. I will train you. I will get you ready to go against Pierre. I will teach you how to slide. I'll teach you how to close down holes. I will teach you how to be the best goaltender humanly possible to win that shootout. What do you say?
Yeah, I don't think he was playing the butterfly back in his days.
I don't know. Let us know in the comment section. Also, we're going to do the voicemails in a second right now, but there's a link to call into the show anytime. Again, just click that link in the description, call and let us know what you think. Who wins the shootout? Mark Carney, Pierre Pollievre. What is the score? Where does the shot go? Do you have faith in Pierre? Do you think Mark still has it? Let us know. I'm curious.
Hey guys, it's Pamela. The one upsetting all the males in your comment section. Anywho, I promised to send in a voicemail regarding your emotional dysregulation about hockey wives, but your most recent reel on immigration seemed a little more important for me to address. Now, I know I'm new here, but isn't this a hockey podcast? I mean, I know for me, hockey is usually an escape from the impending doom of real life, so can we just stick to hockey? And calling someone else's country a dump is pretty brutal. While I agree the NHL is absolutely going to do whatever they can to capitalize on whatever they can, I mean, Care Bear's got to make that dough. Did you ever stop to think that maybe because hockey is an international sport that it is in fact recognizing the different cultures and countries of its very own players on the ice of the sport that we all love? Or maybe even the cultures who have hosted us North American families as billets, across the globe? Again, just my take. The world is polarized enough. I think we can all agree on that. And while I do agree it's important to discuss these issues, I just don't know if this is the right place. But again, I'm just a girl. What do I know?
Sounds like she was talking more to you than she was to me, Travis Ridgen.
What do you think, David?
I think she's talking to you more than she's talking to me, Travis Ridgen.
Well, why don't we first off give her a shout out? So Pamela is a hairdresser in Edmonton. She's been giving me the gears on Instagram. She cuts a bunch of the Oilers' wives and girlfriends' hair, so she has that affiliation to the show. When we've been making all the clips about the wives and the girlfriends keeping them off social media, which keep that away for a second here. As far as the dump comment, I think it's a fair assumption to say if you're coming from somewhere to over here, the place that you're leaving is probably a dump. You're not staying there because it's a dump. You're leaving because it's a dump. I think it's fair to say. As far as the other stuff goes, you know what, Pamela? Challenge accepted. I think this week we've been great. I've only made 2 political comments this week, and we will continue that trend moving forward. What do you say, Dave? And also, I do have one little bone to pick with Pamela. So she does ladies' hair salon, women's haircuts. She doesn't do any men's haircuts. But if I'm coming to Edmonton, I'm going to need a fade. I'm going to need a beard trim, a little chop up top. So Pamela, if you could learn how to do men's haircuts, I would love to come make an appointment.
I'd have to yell into a voicemail, but as a hockey fan who just so happens to be gay, I need to call out Dave on his support of Pride Night. Dave, with all due respect, it's people who think like you that are the problem. Your comments about Pride were homophobic by saying that we need Pride Night because hockey's a thing that's, quote, not normally in our repertoire is garbage. You, Trudeau, Obama, and all your friends on the left think gay people are less than you and everyone else, so you need Pride Night to make yourselves feel better when you really have no idea what you're talking about. And it's people who think like you that have empowered radicals to sexualize our children, our society, and now our sacred sport. Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but rainbow is no team's color. And speaking for myself and everyone else I know, when we turn on the game, we're not looking for rainbows. We're looking for the puck and whether Connor McDavid's going to help our Oilers win or not. And I didn't choose to be gay, but I did choose to not be an idiot. That's why when I worked in the Montana legislature, I helped write the bill to get drag out of our schools. And Canadians and Americans alike support people like Don Cherry, Travis, me, Danielle Smith, and President Trump, and election results show that. It's people like us who are fighting to make hockey great again.
Okay, sounds like he's talking more to me on this one than he is to you, Travis Ridgen.
Yeah, he just torched your ass. That might be the best call we've ever gotten.
Listen, here's what I'll say. If you want to go check my receipts and all that, you're more than welcome to do so. In my comments on that, I was doing a little bit more than playing devil's advocate to Travis's comments. So I think there needs to be a little bit of levity on everything we talk about. So keep in mind, my job here is to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I agree with almost every single thing you said. But the NHL's already got you. They got you. And you're not a subscriber to the LBGTQ plus community or the 2L, the alphabet group, okay? Just so I don't get the letters wrong, the alphabet group and that rainbow society that you talked about. They're not trying to get you. They got you. You're a hockey fan. That's awesome. Good. That's great. You support all the things that you love. Awesome. You don't subscribe to the ones that say, if you're gay, you have to vote this way. I don't agree with that either. Those are the ones they're going after. Those are the ones they want. They want their butts in the seats. It's not necessarily going after your sexuality. It's going after people who identify in those boxes. Again, they don't care. They really don't care. They just want butts in the seats and they want your eyeballs. So they're trying to invite people in that aren't traditionally attached to the NHL or sports in general. So don't take it necessarily personally. Take it more as a blanket statement with the community that you have not subscribed to. And I hope that makes sense.
Let's vote and then we'll fight. What that guy said, what both those guys said, let's vote and then we'll fight.
Next call.
Trav, man, I've enjoyed following your career, and I appreciated your recent response to my essay about watching the end of Fleury's career here in Minneapolis. Now I have a question for you. How do I get back on the ice, if only one time, in all my old goalie gear? See, it's been 15 years, but this stuff still fits. I don't even have a goalie bag anymore. And I'm hesitant to show up at stick and puck events because I'll get destroyed in front of strangers and children. What do you think? Should I rent some ice, skate around alone? I'd like to try and slide around like my favorite goalies again.
I think that you put yourself into a corner with your own response saying, if I go out, I'm going to embarrass myself in front of strangers. Who cares? Dance like no one's watching. Sing like no one's listening. If you're going out just to go slide around, who cares how many pucks you let in? Put the gear on. Take the chance. You might do great. You might impress a few people. And if you do, so what? If you fail, so what? You got your gear back on. Go for it.
I'll also piggyback on what Dave said and say that it sounds to me like you're spending a lot of time and a lot of energy about caring about what other people think that you don't even know. So, for example, for me, and Dave and I have had this conversation before, if you're not in my immediate 8 to 10 people, let's say, that I actually care about, I don't give a shit what you have to say. If you're some nerd on Instagram, I don't care. Like, super thick skin. Only very select few people penetrate the mind. And so I think that if you embrace that mentality, you allow yourself to go and have fun. You put the gear on, right? If your why is strong enough, your how will make sense. Now, if you don't have a goalie bag, here's the solution. Put the gear on and walk to the rink. That will be fun. You know what? That'll probably make you feel like a kid again, because I enjoy going to the rink half-dressed sometimes. And if you want to go slide around like Fleury, too, go to a stick and puck. It's free. They let goalies in for free. You don't have to pay. If you rent ice, you have to pay. Go for free and go have a good time. Actually, I'll tell you what. Was there a name for that call? Was there a name under the call or no?
That was Sam.
Sam, I want you to get off your ass, take a video of you sliding around like old times, and send it to me. Please.
Boys, it's Langy. Where the hell is the podcast on Apple Podcasts? This is concerning.
You want to field that one, technical guy?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I got to own that one. So we recently changed distributors for who distributes the show. And listen, I have spent the last 2 weeks on hold with different technical sports. It's finally back up on Apple. So if you're listening on Apple, you haven't seen the show for 2 weeks, my apologies. I'm very sorry about that. The show is back up and running as it normally usually is.
Hey guys, love the show. 2 questions, Trav. Number one, it's my birthday. So
Happy
questions.
birthday!
One, when are we going to see you play hockey again, like a tournament, even if it's like one of those, like, I don't know, Dale Yeti or some kind of tournament? And then the second question, my birthday week. So can you please tell me a funny story from London that we haven't heard yet? Maybe when you trash talk to the players, or something funny that happened in the locker room, bus ride, or even Sweden. But I like the Junior B videos where you talk trash. I think it's great, and have a go on. That's what hockey's about.
Actually, here's a good story for you. I remember I posted a video. I was chirping one of the other goalies in one of the videos, and I won't say which one because there's a bunch of different goalies in the videos. But I chirped the other goalie. I put that video out online, and his girlfriend messaged me after. That's hilarious. I think you're a better goalie than my boyfriend is. It's awesome. It's awesome. True story.
There you go.
Also, happy birthday too, by the way.
You got your Lundar stories. Good for you.
Hello, Trav. It is me, Stephen Hawking, coming back from the afterlife. I am here to let you know that I have studied some of humanity's greatest astronomical achievements, and I have found something massive. I was amongst the people who theorized and found the size of the largest galaxy. It is about 260,000 light years across. It is almost 2.5 trillion times the size of Earth. It is truly massive. There is only one thing larger, and it is your forehead. But in the afterlife, I theorized with Isaac Newton that there is something even larger than that, and it is your 5-hole. I may be paralyzed, but even I could rip 5 goals past you, and in a beer league.
How do you respond to that?
That might be the greatest. You know what? I take back what I said earlier. That, I think, is the greatest call we've ever gotten in the history of the show.
Well done. How about you want to wrap it there?
How many more calls we got, or we got time for
Lots. But I think we got to save them for clips or another show because we're running out of time.
Okay, well, why don't we cap the show? Thank you for watching. This is Slangin The Bizkit. We do new episodes every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in the Prairies, 9 in Calgary, 8 in the Pacific Northwest. I'm Travis Ridgen. That's Dave Wheeler. Thanks for calling. Thanks for watching the show. We'll do a full voicemail episode soon. We'll see you next week.